Yeah, Devanshu sir, we can start the session.
A very warm welcome, everyone. Good afternoon for our final session on machine learning, data science, and analysis. I welcome all the participants, those who are attending today's session, and I would also like to welcome the faculty members, those who have joined us for the session. Dr. Amit Srivastav, Dr. J.K. Jain, and Dr. Chetan Agarwal, Ms. Priyanka Parihar. So finally, thank the faculties and all the students available. In the previous session, we all have various discussions on how we can perform data analysis on house data. And during the session, during this machine learning part, we had discussions on telecom data and various other stuff. Now, today, we will be finally implementing the analysis on telecom data, where you get to know a lot of insights about how telecom data is organized, what all information is generally collected by the telecom companies. So the SQL data I have already shared with all of you, that what kind of data they can actually intercept once you transmit, which means the data of calls, the data of messages, the data of your applications, whatever you use. So all that can be collected in order to improve services, as well as various other things like ad targeting and marketing. So in today's session, we will be working towards the telecom data in order to identify what kind of telecom models are available in a general data, where the data about calls and voicemails is concerned. Followed by that, we will be implementing analysis. And by the time all the faculty members, I'm just muting you at the moment. Whenever you have to speak something, just let me know. I will allow the participants to unmute themselves. Now, so let's see. So guys, let's go for it with the session today. I'm sharing my screen with all the participants. Currently, I've got all the participants available on YouTube as well as on our Zoom. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, all the participants, those who have joined us. I would be taking a couple of names. Let's say Anshu Kumari, Abhishek Kumar, Abhinay, Brijendra Avasthi, Gulshan Singh, Nawab, Riaz Khan, Shobit Khatri. Welcome everybody. Sonam, Omar, Nisha Yadav, Lata Upadhyay, Nikhil Jain. So thank you so much. I believe my voice is clear now to all the participants, and let's just proceed. So here, first of all, what you all have to do, you have to get started with your Dataiku platform, which we have been using. With respect to Dataiku, you have already got to know that using Dataiku, what you all can do, you can perform machine learning and data analysis using the user interfaces, and it is an easy to implement approach for a beginner to implement data science and machine learning. As well as we have been building our applications in Python programming as well, along with the user interfaces. Whatever we have been doing in Dataiku, we have been implementing that with Python also. So you all can open the collaboratory file also. So up till now, we all have been working on a house project, and yesterday we have implemented one script on how we can quickly put in the information of house variables, and finally it can predict the price for us. So we don't need to design the logic for it. Using analysis, if the inputs and outputs are given, we can actually learn the decision logic. Machine learning can actually learn the decision logic, and using that logic, we can actually predict the future outcomes. If the model is highly accurate, then we actually don't need to design anything, just we need to collect the data. We have to train our machine in order to learn the decision logic using the inputs and outputs, and then we can integrate that with any application. So this gives you an advantage that you don't need to be a supremo of any business industry, or you don't need to have a lot of business understanding in order to make a product for it. Hence, artificial intelligence and machine learning is influencing every scope of industry in today's scenario. In the session, I have already shared the industrial classification benchmark with all of you, I think on session 1 or else in session 2, which you all can quickly check back on 1-to-1. in the industrial classification benchmark, we got to know about individual industries available and all the sub-industries and the subtypes, whatever work each industry does. So now what you can do is you can quickly filter the industry out. You can identify a specific data set from those industries, and you don't need to be a supremo of that industry in order to perform analysis. You can simply apply machine learning algorithms on it. And once you apply the algorithms, you can quickly check back if the accuracy of the algorithms is 90% or above. Let's say if it is close to 95, 96, 97% accuracy, and even up to 99% accuracy, then that algorithms are pretty good to use in your with your web applications. So you can actually make use of those decision logic algorithms. You can train your machines, and then you can integrate that model with web applications and mobile applications. Now we will be working towards telecom data. And before we start working on telecom data, one thing again I would like to show you that we have started this program on machine learning with a motivation to build telecom products. So let's say in case if there is a telecom company, one sample which we have taken was Reliance. Reliance was the company which we have taken as our objective, as our target company. And Reliance Communication was seeking for data analyst positions. For data analyst positions, I have already told you that what they have been looking for, they are looking for the professionals, those who have knowledge of machine learning, data design, mining, statistics, and majorly they have been looking for people with understanding on user behavior and computational economics. Now, using the user behavior, what we can do is we can drive mobile user data analysis, and using that mobile user data analysis, we can actually build various products and prototypes which can be useful for the industry. So as you all know, we have actually collected all the resources on one-to-one. So if anybody would like to access this after this session ends today, you all can reach out to Reliance Communications page on our website under career programs, and you can click on start free training, and you can get access to the complete content. This particular profile includes the following content, where you can learn machine learning unsupervised, artificial intelligence, deep learning, how to deploy things on cloud, how to perform data analysis and machine learning, how to make use of big data with Hadoop and MapReduce in order to apply algorithms on a very large data set. So you all can get a complete idea of that. So approximately within a 3-month time, if you learn at least one lesson a day, so within 3 months, you will be able to learn all of these technologies, and that too free of cost. That is the best part. So you all can actually reach out here, register. You have a couple of technologies available in your account. You can go with each and every technology step by step. And when you have questions, you can post your questions on Talk to Mentor on our website, as well as you can learn within a duration of 3 months, and you will be ready for that. And the best part would be Acqueda will be providing you certification for all these programs free of cost, just on the basis of the evaluation test. So you can attempt, you can learn through the video sessions and the self-learning material provided along with the practical codes and everything. You can take the evaluation test. After you are done with the evaluation tests, you can actually gain the appropriate certificates for all the courses available, as well as you can get an internship experience letter also with us, so that you can apply for the appropriate algorithms. You can apply with Reliance as well as other telecom companies, those who are looking for similar profiles. So you can actually excel your career with this particular program. The prices here written are only for references. They are just to let you have the reference about an appropriate cost and the total worth of the program. So you don't need to pay anything on the platform. You just have to come, you have to click on start free training, register your account, and get started with the program. And you have to implement all the technologies step by step, get the evaluations done, and you will be ready to work in the industry. So this is one of the important information which you all can make use of on our website once you are done with the session, as well as there are various other companies and there are various other profiles apart from machine learning and data analyst on our platform. So if you are interested into them, you can search for appropriate profile. You can start the free training for that kind of profile. You can get access to all the relative content. You can prepare them, get evaluated, and proceed further. And all this is free of cost. Okay, so that might help you in excelling your career in a better way. Now, let us just get back to this profile, Reliance Communications data analyst, and we will be working towards the telecom data today. In order to work out on telecom data, on the Trello card, I have actually shared a customers.csv data set with you. This is the telecom customers data, which we will be processing in today's session. So I would like to copy that and I would like to share with all of you on YouTube. Kindly access the Trello card. Over this Trello card, you will have access to the telecom customers data.csv. I'm also sharing the link to the CSV file, so you all can quickly download it. Okay, we will be using this telecom customers.csv in our today's session. Now, so I will be sharing that with the faculty participants also. So if you want to implement anything along with me, you all can have quick access to the CSV file. Okay, so guys, under your data IQ, predicting the churn users project is already implemented. So what you can do is you can quickly go to this project, predicting churn. For this project is with the name Devanshu Shukla, but you can use it accordingly. Predicting churn users. And here, once you reach on the project, you have to go to the flow. So before I implement this project practically, I would actually like to show you what we will be implementing in this session. Okay, so here, I would like to quickly show you what you will be doing in. So initially, I have provided you a data set, which is telecom customers.csv file. And this data set is this customers.csv. We are going to implement the following processes. We are going to make use of knowledge discovery process, or else you can use cross-industrial standard process for data mining, as well as sample explore, modify, model, assess, as with respect to that PDF document, which I have already provided you in the previous session. But just for reference, I'm just sharing that document again with all of you. So here on this Python machine learning document, as you all know, machine learning helps you implement the data science for artificial intelligence programs. It helps you identify the decision logic, and out of the data, you can actually extract the knowledge, and you can use that knowledge in order to make the decisions. So artificial intelligence body can decide with respect to machine learning. So machine learning is very important. Along with that, I believe you all are again clear with all the steps. You have to implement what happened in data, why did it happen, what will happen, and how do you make the best happen. So this is the complete life cycle of a data scientist. And how he does that? He does that by implementing any of the following approaches: knowledge discovery process, cross-industrial standard process for data mining, sample explore, modify, model, and assess. And here we have the knowledge discovery process, where you have certain stages, like you have to select the data, pre-process the data, transform the data, data mining, interpretation and evaluation, and finally you have to extract the knowledge. So you all, I believe you all remember that how we have been doing all that stuff. So this is to identify the independent and dependent variables. Here in the pre-processing, you have been removing the null values and the empty values. And in case if the data is in text format, you have been converting it into numbers so that it becomes analysis ready. Finally, if the data is of different scale, then you are going to transform the data of different scale or different ranges into a common scale between 0 to 1. And once you are done with that, you're going to apply algorithms on it. And once you are done with application of algorithms, you're going to plot the graphs in order to identify the patterns out of it. And using these patterns, you will get to know about the knowledge. Okay. So this is how you will be implementing your complete machine learning. And today's data will be the telecom data, which I have provided you in the file customers.csv. So let's proceed to the next part. Now what we will be doing. So in order to implement the knowledge discovery process as listed in the previous document, we will be using the following path. This will be the flow of our analysis. So first, we are going to have our consumers. We are going to pre-process the data. Once we are done with pre-processing, that means you are going to clean the data. You are going to convert the text into numbers. You are going to convert the numbers of different scale into a common scale. That is optional. You can do that. And once you are done with that, you're going to get a customer's prepared data set ready. Okay. After you have this, we will start training using various algorithms. And once we are done with the algorithm, we will see which is the best algorithm which can actually help us predict the clusters. So now here, in this case, we will be implementing the case of classification. The first objective of this analysis would be, today's objective to identify is identify the churn users, okay, from telecom data set. That will be your first option. So the output or the response variable, okay, let's say, I'll just quickly write it here. Response variable would be something like whether the user is churn or not, and the response is maybe yes or no. So as you all can see, this yes and no is categorical data. So whenever we have the categorical data, we actually implement clustering, or actually we implement classification algorithms. Okay, and under the classification algorithms, there are various ways. So we will be applying the classification algorithms. So using the classification algorithms, after applying classification algorithms, we'll get to know that one of the best algorithm to process it is the segmented model, which is done using k-means algorithm. Okay. So what exactly we will be doing in, depending on the user data, we are going to make different clusters of the data depending on certain features like who is the highest spender, or let's say who are the high spenders, who are the low spenders, who are the customers who generally make calls in the morning, what are the customers who generally make the calls in the evening, how many customers generally use voicemailers, so that we can provide specific plans to them, as well as we can identify what is there, are they currently moving towards the churn or not. Okay, so we will be doing clustering in order to prepare the cluster labels. Once we are done with that, we are going to get the customers with different categories available with us. Okay, so at first we will be having our first analytics, where we will get to know the properties of different types of users available within the data. This particular data set contains approximately 3,333 users information. Okay, so the data contains 3,333 rows, which actually represent the information of the telecom users. Okay, now here, once we are done till here, we are going to get the customer data with segmentations. And apart from that, once you guys are done with that, what next you will be doing, you will again train that to perform the prediction whether the user is a churn or not. Okay, whether he will be staying or he will be leaving the telecom platform. And once we will get to know about the churn, so churn will be done using the random forest algorithm. That is a classification algorithm which will help us identify whether the user is a churn user or not. And once we got to know about the churn users, we are going to clean the data. And finally, you will get to know the actual revenue loss due to the consumers leaving out the organization. Okay, or as in leaving the telecom plan. So if we get to know about the churn users, what we will be doing, we will be retargeting them. We will be sending them appropriate plans with respect to their user behavior, whether they are day callers or night callers and anything like that. And we will try to regain those customers back to the telecom company, so that the loss can be minimized and the profits can be maximized. So this is something which you will be implementing. As well as certain other processing has also been done here over the unlabeled data. And the unlabeled data we have actually used in order to predict whether the unlabeled data will be churn or not. So unlabeled data is something where we don't have the information whether a specific property of the user is a churn or not. Okay, so we will actually identifying that, and once we get to know that, we are going to calculate the unlabeled customers, the churn prediction customers, and finally you are going to calculate the revenue loss. So before we start implementing anything on this, let us just quickly understand what do we mean by churn. Okay, so here I'll take you to Wikipedia page, and here let's say define churn meaning. Telecom. Okay, so what is the churn rate definition? Let's have a quick understanding of that with the official definition. So you can see that churn rate is important in the telecom industry. So what does it mean? The churn rate is also known as the rate of attrition. Attrition means the customer leaving the company or customer leaving the telecom platform. So it is the rate at which customers stop doing business with an entity. It is most commonly expressed as the percentage of service subscribers who discontinue their subscriptions within a given period of time. So you all can see in today's scenario, when we all do online business, and after COVID, you all can see majority of the industry is moving towards online selling of the products and online consumption of the services. So most of these online product companies generally work on the subscription model. So subscription model, what generally offers a user have a look for the product. Once he get access to the product, monthly he pays for that particular service depending on the usage. Okay, and so when it has to be paid monthly, the longer the customer stays on the platform, more the profit the company is going to make. Okay, so now what generally happens, every company is dedicated towards minimizing this churn rate. It is not only limited to telecom data, it can be considered with Netflix, or you may be using various applications today, like you may be using Hotstar, Netflix, and various other applications are also available, where you actually subscribe that for certain period of time, for a given period of time with respect to a subscription fee. And once the subscription fee is over, you try to resubscribe with that service. And one of the most common example is your mobile plans. So today, let's say if you all are using Jio. So Jio, you may be having multiple plans like monthly plans or quarterly plans or yearly plans, where you invest some money. Let's say you have taken a package of, let's say 400 rupees for a month, where you are going to get 3 GB data for that particular 30 days. Now, in case if you leave that platform for the next month, it is a big loss for the telecom company. Okay, but if you stay with, let's say with Jio, so it is going to be profitable for them. So generally this happens, and how this analysis is done at the back end in order to propose the appropriate plans to the appropriate consumers, that we are going to understand today. So the objective is to identify the churn users, those who are most likely to leave the platform or to leave the subscription. So what generally happens, if it is identified that the person is going to leave that platform, various different offers are given to him so that he continue his subscription services. Okay, so this is one of the objective of telecom industry, which we will be implementing today. Now, so again, to let you all know, over the Trello card, I have given you the customers.csv dataset, which actually contains information about the telecom plans and different things like that. So let us just quickly have a look how we are going to use it. So we can go here, copy the link, go to your collaboratory file, and under collaboratory, we are going to create a new notebook, and let us just call it as telecom analysis. Okay. So I will be using both the formats. I will be using the Dataiku interface just to explain you how things are happening. The project is already implemented on Dataiku, so you all can quickly connect to that and understand how that complete project is implemented. Along with that, we will be implementing all the project part step by step in Python here. So what we will be doing, let us just quickly name this as telecom data analysis. Okay. So here we are going to make use of the telecom data. So initially, let's import pandas as PD. Okay. Using PD, we are going to read the comma separated value and we are going to save that into data. Okay. And once we are done with that, we are going to show the data, and let's say with top 3 rows, I'm going to print just to quickly see what we get. So here, once I execute that, you can see that we have got the telecom data read, and within this telecom data, what all information is available to us. So we have certain columns which shows state of the user, account length. This could be number of days. Okay. Account length is something like the number of days with which the user is actively using your service. Then the area code in that state, followed by the phone number which is being used by that user, and with that specific phone number, whatever services he is using of the telecom company. Then we check whether he uses an international plan or not, which means he is calling to international consumers also, or he is using a local plan or the national plan only. So generally, as you all know, in your, let's say if you're using Geo, you cannot make international calls until and unless you have a specific money in your Geo account. So what does it mean? Whatever plan which you get, let's say if you recharge for a month and if you get unlimited calls, so those calls are nationwide calls. You can call anybody in the national region. But once, if you have to make an international call, either you need to have an appropriate balance or you should have an international plan so that you can make calls to international friends or your colleagues. Now, so there will be various options, like people will be having international plans or not. So we will be quickly checking a couple of information along with whatever information is available over here. So let's say out of the data, we would like to quickly check back the international plan, and we would like to check the value counts for this. So how many users does have the international plans or may not have the international plans. So you can see that in the data, approximately 3010 people does not have an international plan, and there are 323 people those who have international plans. Okay. So now we can have various things on the basis of, in case if we have to sell something to the international users. Okay. So let's say during the COVID time, it could be possible that majority of the people, those who have moved out of the country, they may be staying there. So now what could be happening? They may be having a number of calls internationally using their mobile phone. So it could be possible we can suggest them some good offers so that their satisfaction and their experience with the telecom service can be improved. So this is a sample example of around 3,333 users, but the same model can be implemented with millions of users who are actually using the telecom service. Next, there are certain number of users who have the virtual mail plans, and similarly it has two types of values, yes and no. And if you want to quickly check back, so we can quickly type the vmail plan and we can see how many people have the vmail plan. So around 922 people have the voicemail plan. So voicemail, you all generally know, when the mobile phone is switched off, we can send a message via our voice. A recorded voice can be sent as a message to the end user. So for that, a user must have a voicemail plan. So if he does have a voicemail plan, he can, even if his mobile phone is off, once he turns on, he can go to his voicemail and he can check what all messages he have received. Similarly, you have the voicemail message plans as well. So again, there are certain number of messages, whatever is available for that particular user. Okay. So it is like there is a person who has a voicemail plan and he has approximately 25 messages available in his voicemail. So you can actually check the frequency of voicemail messages also with respect to a person having a voicemail plan. So in case if you want to offer a service like, let's say, I would like to give a 10% discount to people, those who generally use voicemail plans who have more than 100 voicemail messages. okay, or their frequency of voicemail messages is a little high, so we can offer them 5% discount or 10% discount or something like that. Or in fact, to make out the profits, if we observe that value, generally what telecom companies can do, they can increase a bit of the price on those consumers, those who actually use a lot of voicemail services. So that can actually expand the profit of that voicemail company or the telecom company. Okay, so all that analysis is very important when it comes to data analysis. Similarly, the day minutes, how many minutes the user spends on a call, how many calls does he made on a specific day, what are the charges he paid per day. So let's say if it is in US dollar maybe, so around 45 US dollar has been spent on specific calls. And in case if we consider about, let's say India, so we can say, let's say 45 rupees have been spent on approximately 110 calls made in a day, and the duration of these calls were 265 minutes. Okay. Similarly, around 197 calls have been made in the evening, and 197 minutes have been spent in the evening, as well as the number of calls made is 99 calls have been made in the evening for, let's say, a 30-day period. Similarly, the evening charges, which generally the user has spent over the number of calls which have been made. Finally, the night minutes and the night calls which have been made, as well as the night charges which have been implemented, followed by the international minutes, international calls, and in the international charge, and how many customer service calls have been made, and whether he would have left the platform or not. So if he is satisfied with the platform, the churn responses false. So churn responses false means he is going to stay in the organization if he has this kind of behavior. Okay. So now this means we have a data in order to learn the insights from the user behavior, and depending on that, we can predict the churn rate, or we can predict the churn behavior of a specific new user coming into the system. So we can take information from him regarding how many calls he made in a day, how many calls he made in night, and how many international calls and international messages he spent, and how many customer calls he has done. And depending on that, we can predict whether he is going to stay, or he is going to purchase, or he is going to renew the subscription plan for the next month or not. So in case we get into the system that yes, he is going to purchase it, we will stay calm and do nothing, and we'll have his money again. In case if we get to know that he is going to leave that subscription, then we will be making different offers to him, by making him calls, by sending him and notifying him a lot of offers, like you just stay on the organization and we are going to give you certain number of discounts and like that. Okay. So all that thing happens behind the scenes with respect to telecom companies, as well as this can be applied to other platforms also, where users generally buy subscription services. Okay. So let's say if you are a data scientist and you want to make a product which can consume the subscription data from any existing service provider, you can take the data from them. They can send you the data in an anonymized format, and you can analyze with your API, and then you can send him a result that this user is a churn user or not. So they don't need to buy a data analyst, or they don't need to have a data analyst in their company. Your data analyst product is capable of doing that service for those subscription companies. Okay. So there are various ways. Either you can work in a company, or you can make your analysis, and you can make simple APIs, and you can sell those APIs on internet so that people can buy them. They can have a trial with your services, and after a certain period of time, you can also run the subscription model on those users, so that you can make out a lot of money using whatever you are learning for data science and the similar stuff. Now, so let's see how we are going to process this data. I believe everybody is clear with what is contained in the data at the moment. So we have information about the international plans, the voicemail plans, the daily minutes, the calls, charges in the daytime, evening time, night time, and the international time, as well as the customer service calls made by the users. Now, please confirm me on chat if this is clear to all the participants, and my voice is audible to everyone clearly. Okay, I believe It's clear? Let's see. So let's proceed to the next stuff. Now we got to see the value counts. You all can quickly check the value counts accordingly. So we will start machine learning. Okay. So we have to identify what will happen in future. Okay. So whether the user will stay or leave the platform or leave the subscription. Something like that we would like to actually check. Okay. So for that, let us just quickly see how many columns we have. So if I quickly print the number of columns here, you can see that we have got state, we have got account length, area code, phone number, international plan, voicemail messages, daily minutes, calls, charges, evening minutes, calls, charges, minutes for night, international calls, international minutes, international charges, customer service calls, and the churn rate. Okay. So there are certain information we have. Now we have to perform pre-processing on the data. We have to perform transformation on the data. Once we are done with that pre-processing and transformation, we can actually proceed towards performing the data mining using various algorithms, and then we are going to interpret and evaluate the results. This is what we will be doing in. Now, what would we be doing? Let's quickly go to the data IQ first, and I'm going to show you how generally the analysis is. I believe you all actually are clear with the process which we have already done yesterday in the housing data set. So similar steps will be followed, just the algorithms will be changed, and the graphs which we have plotted yesterday will be different. We will be plotting the graphs today with respect to the algorithm which we are using today. Okay. Now, so let's see. So what we have to do now, we have to work out on the pre-processing. Okay, you have got the customer's data. If you would like to quickly see the same data available on Dataiku, so it does have the state, the account length, the area code, phone number, international plan, voicemail messages, daily minutes, daily calls, daily charges, evening minutes, evening calls, followed by evening charges, night minutes, night calls, night charges, international minutes, international calls, international charges, customer service calls, and the churn rate. So this is the same data which we will be processing. So this data has approximately 3,333 rows and 21 columns. Okay. So if you would like to print that, we can quickly have that. So let's say what we can do is we can quickly print the information of the data. So let's say the telecom data has %d rows and %d columns. So I think I have already told you about how you can actually print this information out with respect to the data set available. But just again for the reference, we can quickly have the shape, and out of the tuple, whatever is responded, we are going to get that in return, that the telecom data has 3,333 rows and 21 columns. Okay. Now, what next we will be doing? We will be pre-processing the data. So before we pre-process, I would like to show you how the pre-processing was generally done. So you can quickly open pre-processing. Under the pre-processing, you can see on the left-hand side of this screen, you can see all the steps which have been implemented in order to pre-process the telecom data. So initially, they have replaced dot by in churn. Okay, so they have replaced dot by empty characters in the churn data set. You can click on that and you can see that there is a churn column, and in that churn column, what they have done, they have replaced the dot value with no value. And what does that actually mean? In the existing data set, generally what they have is, let's just quickly go to the flow once. We'll quickly go to the consumers, and at the end of the consumers, you can see that this contains false dot at the end. So what they wanted to replace that dot before they perform the analysis, but I don't think that it is required. You can actually quickly replace that with label binarizer with zeros and one, and that can be quickly done. But just to give you a quick reference, because it may be possible that in future you might need to replace something, so I'm going to give you a quick tip about how the replace functions work. Okay, So let us just quickly see how the replacement actually works. So in the data frame which we are using, there is a function known as replace, with which we can quickly provide the data which we have to find and the data with which we have to replace it. So it's very simple what we can do. Let us just quickly show you the replacement functionality. So you can quickly call the data frame, and on the data frame there is a function known as replace. Okay, and what does replace do? Replace values given in to replace with the value. So the syntax says you can specify the value which you want to replace and followed by the value with which you want to replace, and there is one more option known as in place. So what it does, it will let's say it will create a data structure. Within that data structure it is going to hold the data, and if you say in place equal to true, it will modify that data structure, so you don't need to explicitly save it into another location. Okay, so what we can do is, let's say we can say the data to replace will be, we are going to identify within that let's say okay, so what we'll say, within the data, under the column, let's say churn, under the churn column, you have to replace the data where it contains false. Okay, and you can actually replace that with false, something like that, and you can actually call it as in place equal to true. So once you do that, you don't need to explicitly save it anywhere. It will automatically replace the values of false dot into false. Okay, and the dot will be replaced. Similarly, what next you can do? Similarly, you can do that for the true values also, because the true value also contains a dot at the end. So what we're going to do, let's just replace the true values. Let's say true, in case if there is anything like true is contained, we are going to change that with true, and we are going to call in place equal to true. Okay, and finally we are going to actually print the data with a churn. Okay. So once we run that, we are going to replace both the values, and now you can see that earlier, previously here in the data, we contained the dots in the columns, okay, for false as well as for true. But now after the replacement, you can see that we have got the dot replaced with empty values, as well as you can actually okay, you can actually run again the data column. Let's say data.head, and within data.head, let's say we are going to print the top 3 rows, and within the top 3 rows you can see that the dot has been removed now. So this is how you can actually perform the replace operations with the data frames. Now, what is the next step? The next steps, they said, they state the meaning of state to text. Okay, so state is naturally text for us, so we don't need to worry about it, and we are going to replace that with label encoder. So let us just quickly see how many states do we have in the data. So here we are actually checking how many states we have in data. So we are going to have data.state, and you're going to actually check the value counts. Okay, once you check the value counts, you can quickly see that there are various number of states available. Okay, so there are simple entries for CA for 34, IA, PA, LA, AK, and TN. There are many entries available for each of them. Okay, and in case if you quickly want to filter out the unique values, you can actually call the unique over that, so you can quickly get that array. And if you want to get the length of that, you can actually print the length. So we can actually get to know that we have around 51 states in the data at the moment. Okay, so let us just quickly print that. So I'm going to say the data set contains %d states. Okay, mod, and let's run that. Okay, let's say I'm going to print it somewhere, but that's not a tuple. So I'm going to say %d, comma, states. You can also print it somewhat like that. That won't be a problem. Okay. So let's run that. We have got the data set contains length of the data, as well as we already have a positive operator here. Let's run. And we have to close it to the block here. Okay, now here. So you can get a message quickly like that. Dataset contains 51 states. So we do have 51 states, and now we actually have to convert these 51 states into numbers so that it gets analysis ready. So let us do one thing. Let us just quickly import sklearn.preprocessing as pp, and we are going to use label encoder. I've already told you about how we can use label encoder in the previous session with housing data set. Now, using the label encoder, we are going to transform the data, and we are going to pass the data of the state. Okay, and once this has been transformed, we are going to actually put that into the state variable. Okay, and finally, we are going to print the data.head with top 3 values. So once we do that, now you can see that we have actually got all the specific states replaced, 16, 35, 31. So earlier, the states were in string format like KS, OH, NJ, but now we have actually transformed that into numbers so that it becomes analysis ready. Okay, I believe this is clear to everyone. Now what next we have? So we got the state already changed to numbers for analysis. Then what they have done, they have actually renamed a few columns like account length, area code, international plan, Vmail message. But that is actually not required at the moment. We can actually process it with the spaces also in Python. That won't be a problem for you all. But just to let you all know how that is renamed, I'm going to quickly show you how renaming can be done. Okay, so let's just quickly go here, and one sample I would like to show you. Let's say if you want to change the information of account length equal to account underscore length, then what we can generally do, we can call data.rename facility. Okay, so there is a function data.rename, and what it does, it provides you the facility to alter the access label. Columns are generally known as access labels in the data, and using a specific function or the dictionary values like a one-to-one key value pair, you can actually pass, and using that, labels not contained in a dictionary will be left as is. So you can actually replace with a dictionary like or with a function. So what we can do, let us just quickly pass in a dictionary, and let's say in case if we have to quickly pass the keyword like mapper. So first keyword is mapper, which we have to specify. So let's say I'm going to define that this is going to be my mapper, and within the mapper, I would like to quickly search for a value known as account length, and let's say I would like to replace that with account underscore length. Okay, so we are going to rename it accordingly, as well as within that you can have n number of key value pairs. Let's say you have area code and you want to change that area code into something like area underscore code, so you can do that. Okay, that's not required. You don't need to change for all the plans, but it would be better, because sometimes what we generally do is whenever we try to read the features, so in case if in the data something like a single quote or anything is like that available, so it's better to replace it in advance. Okay, so what we can do, let us just quickly change for the third value also, and I have int L plan. Okay, so we are going to change it. I'll just quickly see if this works directly. Okay, and we are going to change it to Intel plan, international plan. Okay, so we are going to have the mapper, and we are again going to save that into data. And once we are done with that saving, let's just write that in 2 lines, and I would like to quickly print the data, the top 3 lines from the code. Okay, so I believe this is clear to everyone that what exactly we're trying to do. We are just changing and renaming the columns. Okay, So we have done actually data.renamemapper account length to account length, but it has not changed. I need to check. I think we have to do anything like in place maybe. Let's just quickly check again. So what all is required in the parameters? Command X, let me just quickly check it once. So I'll quickly take a help using question mark. And this is always a good idea in case if you miss something, you can quickly put in a question mark before the function name and you're going to get the help in Jupyter. And you can quickly understand about the exact parameters and whatever is required. So here it says data.renamemapper. Then we need to have the index columns you can provide, that is not required, but in place is also available here. So we are going to use in place equal to true. So that is actually going to convert the mapper for us. Okay, so let us just quickly call another property in place and I'm going to call it as true. So once I run that, okay, still I haven't got that. I'll just remove the mapper property from here. Okay, so we have actually provided the dictionary structure. The key value and pair has been provided along with the area code, international plan, the international plan. So why isn't working? Okay, I'll just quickly check that again. Okay, so we do have a mapper, which is a dictionary. Then we have the index, we have the columns, which could be the dictionary functions. In the columns, we can actually pass the mapper. Then we have the access, we have the in place available, as well as we have that available. So let us just have a reference example from here. In the reference example, we have to pass in a mapper where we have the columns mapper. Okay, so it has been passed somewhat like that. pd.data frame has been used, whatever is the data frame. So using the data frame, we have called the rename, we have provided the columns value. Okay, so instead of mapper, it's just better that we can quickly pass in the columns information here. So just change it from mapper to columns and run it. Okay, so once you use columns here instead of the mapper, you can actually get account length, area code, and the international plan changed into that. So it would be better that what I'll do, I'll just change that Intel plan to Intel_plan, or else that is also convenient for me, not a problem, because there will be many more facilities available, which many more variables available which do have a space in the name. So that doesn't matter, but just for your reference that how renaming is done, I have already told you, because that was done in the Dataiku script here. Okay, so you can see that similarly you can change the values to any number of columns, whatever is required. Now what next we have? So here they say, then they have created a new column with the value total minutes with a specific formula. So a new column has been made with the name total minutes. So here you can see that in this data, the original data does not have the total columns, but the processed data, the pre-processed data does have total minutes, total charges. There are two columns which have been added here. So how they are trying to do, they are using an expression by adding daily minutes, evening minutes, night minutes, and international minutes. 4 types of columns will be added and they will be stored into the total minutes. So how that can be done, let's have a look. So guys, what we'll do, we'll quickly reach here and let us just quickly create. So, okay, I'll tell you one thing, why is that required and how will you get to know that this may be required for adding the total charges and the total minutes would be required. So there could be a question like that, that how do we get to know that we do need to have total minutes and total charges? Okay. So generally how we identify that, just by applying the correlation matrix once. We can quickly check back the correlation matrix just to see how many dependent and independent variables we have. In case if we don't get any, then we have to add on new parameters which can be actually useful in prediction of the churn rate. Okay, so generally we add on this, and as well as total minutes and total charges is actually an important variable which can actually help us identify if the user is spending, because finally we have to calculate the loss. So in order to calculate what is the loss if this particular user leaves the organization, so for that we generally need to have his total investment which he has done on the subscription with our platform. So that's why generally we make use of total minutes he spent on the platform, as well as over the calls, as well as the total charges he spent on the platform. Okay, so daily minutes, evening minutes, and all that things can be identified. So total minutes and total charges will be two things which have to be added. So let us just quickly have it. First, we are going to add total minutes in the data. So you can select your data and you can quickly define total minutes. Okay, and to add the total minutes, we need to have four variables. We are going to have the day minutes, evening minutes, night minutes, and the international minutes. Four of these information is required. Okay, so before I do that, let us just quickly have the screen here. And what do we need? We need these four columns from here: the daily minutes, the evening minutes, the night minutes, as well as the international minutes. Four information will be added here. Okay, so let's call it as day minutes, plus you're going to have the data with eve minutes, plus you are going to have the data with night minutes, plus we'll be having data with international minutes. Okay, four of this information will be added onto the data, and similarly we will be, let's just quickly print the data out, head of top three values. So once we are done with adding this, now you can see that at the end we will be having a new column with the name total minutes which have been spent on the platform by the user. So for each and every column you can have the individual data added. So we got the total minutes facility also included, as well as now what we are going to do in the next cell, we are going to have the total charges also. Okay, so let us just quickly make a new variable, total charges. And you might be thinking why I'm adding total charges. So I'm adding total charges because they have also created a new column, total charge, and they have added daily charge, evening charge, night charge, and the international charge. Four facilities have been added. So similarly, if you're using Dataiku, you can quickly select the column, define the name of the columns, add plus to it, so that automatically that can be added in Dataiku. But if you know Python, which is very easy programming language, so you can do that in Python also. Okay, now here, so let's just quickly reach out to our telecom data analysis. So we are going to get the total charges, and out of that total charges, let's just have the day charge. So what you will be having, the day charge, the evening charge, the night charge, as well as the international charge. Four types of charges which have been spent by the user. And with charges, what we can do, we can actually identify the amount of information, the amount of value he actually spent on the platform, and we can actually get various demographics like whether he is a day caller or he is a night caller or he is an evening caller. So let's say in case if he is a night caller, so it could be probable that if he is daily making calls from, let's say, 12 a.m. in the night to 4 o'clock in the morning, so he might be having a girlfriend and he may be speaking to them. So it could be like a one-to-one offer, like you can set up a free call all day to that particular number. So all that offers can be pushed in. Okay, so I hope you all are students and you might be very aware about the night calls. So think with that mindset, and in case if you get those offers, so you would be happy to have the services on the platform, and you won't be leaving that organization. So in case if somehow it is predicted that a new company, let's say in the telecom sector, what recently happened, as you all know, earlier people were using Vodafone and Airtel, and somehow Jio came in with a very nice plan, which is a free plan for 4G data, along with making calls free of cost either the day, either the night. So uh, they have actually taken most of the subscribers. Okay, so as of the latest try report, which I have already shown you on day one, we already know that approximately 32% stake of the total number of 1156 million subscribers of India is taken by Geo. So at that point of time, in case if Airtel got to know that there is a probability that these are the n number of churn users which will be shifting from Airtel to the Geo platform, at that point of time they would have offered the similar opportunities to the users. But since they were not aware about the market, they might not have done the predictions of future. They might not have done the appropriate churn analysis. That's why the majority of the subscribers tuned in from Airtel and Vodafone to the Jio. So if it could have been done at that point of time and good offers have been released for the consumers, it would be a possibility that many more subscribers could have been protected and could have been kept with the organization itself. Okay. So now let's see. So you can have the addition of day charge, as well as you can have the eve charge, the evening charge, as well as you have for day charge, evening charge, then we have the night charge. Okay, and we can have the international charge. So with this, we are going to get the total charges added onto the data. And once we are done with that, we are going to print the top 3 rows, let's say, from the data. So once we do that, we are going to get total charges also. Now, so you can see that we have got total minutes and total charges added for every specific user for that day. Okay. Now, so as you all can see, it's very easy in order to have the two-dimensional data and quickly process that with Python programming. It makes the user very easy. You can do a lot of stuff. And finally, there is one more thing which they says replace two values in churn. So what is under the churn, the value is false and another value is true. So false has to be replaced with 0 and true has to be replaced with 1. So what does this mean? This is the actual way of converting or processing the text numbers. So we will be using label binarizer here. So in the state, as you all remember, we have used label encode because okay, guys, I believe my voice is audible now. Somehow I got disconnected, but let me just share the screen again. Okay, so we were here. So at the last, what I have told, I believe, yeah, I was at this position. Okay. So here, as you can see, we have to actually replace the churn values with 0 and 1. So you can make use of label binarizer, and using label binarizer, false can be quickly converted into 0 and true can be quickly converted into 1. Hello. Yeah, hi. I believe my voice is audible to the participants. Please confirm me on chat. I guess Geo is angry on me because I was speaking that if Airtel and Vodafone would have been done the analysis well, they could have kept the consumers. So Geo might be angry on that, and he has just discontinued my services. Now I have switched from Geo to another network, but let's see. So now I'm using Den Telecom network, and let's just complete the final part. So here we have to replace the churn with false equal to 0 and true equal to 1. So what generally would be done here, you're going to make use of label binarizer techniques in order to automatically convert the text into numbers. So let's go here, and here what we will be doing. So we do have to use PP, the pre-processing library, which we have imported above. And with that, we are going to import label binarizer. So we can actually save that label binarizer into an object known as LB. And using the label binarizer, we can actually call fit transform. And in the form, what we can do, you can pass your data, and we have to convert the churn. Okay. So we can actually call the churn information somewhat like that, and we can change or save it into the churn variable. Okay, somewhat like that. So we are going to fit the transform, and we are going to fit, which means we are going to binarize the false equal to 0 and true into 1. And finally, again, we are going to get the data with the top 3 rows. Okay, so once we execute that here, now you can see that we have got this value also converted into churn is also converted into 0 and 1. Okay, so if you quickly want to check how many churn users and non-churn users we have, so we can actually print that value out, churn, and we can actually get the values count. Okay, so let's just have a print here, value count. Okay, here it may be value counts. Let's just the intelligence suggests me. Okay, it might be possible intelligence is not suggesting here at the moment, but maybe value count. So let's test it now here. So we have around 2,850 responses for non-churn users, which will stay, but there are around 483 users which have actually shifted from the current telecom platform to some other platform. So this is the previous data which we have. So now using this previous data, we are going to prepare a model, and using that model, we can predict the churn for the new users coming into the system. Okay. Now, so once you guys are done with that, let's say we will go to the next step now. So here you can see that the complete analysis has been done here, but somehow they have missed a couple of variables. The B plan, it also have yes and values, which is text in nature. So that also needs to be converted into numbers, and all others are already in numbers now. Okay. So what next we will do? Let us just quickly go to the script again and just change these two variables also, international plan and V-mail plan. So what we are going to do, let us just quickly check. We are going to change the data of two more plans. So let me just quickly print the column. Let's just quickly print the data dot head again. Let's say this time I'm only one row. I like to check whether it is a text or whatever it is. So I have international plan and V-mail plan, which is still in text format. So first, let us just quickly check the international plan. What are the value counts? Okay, let's run that. So we will see there are around two values, no and yes. Okay, so again, it's a label binarizer thing. So let us just binarize. And apart from that, for international plan, other than international plan, we have Vmail plan also. So let's just check whether how many categories it has. So again, it is a binary category where it has no and yes. So both of these variables can actually be pre-processed using label binarizer. So we can use lb.fit transform. We can actually take data, we can specify international plan, and we can save it into data with international plan. Okay. Now here you all can see we have got the international plan changed. Similarly, we are going to fit the transform and we are going to change data with a Vmail plan. Okay, we're going to have the Vmail plan is also in text. We're going to change the Vmail plan and let's save that into Vmail plan. So we are going to get both of them changed, and let's just quickly print the data.head and let's say 3 rows we are going to print. So once we do that, now you can see that earlier the international plans and the Vmail plans were in text format. They were in yes, no format. Okay. But now here in the data, we have actually converted them into the, numbers. Okay. So now this is clear that we are done with pre-processing of the data, and now we can actually apply algorithms on them. So we got the state, we got account length, area code, phone numbers, international plan, email messages, and the complete numbers at the moment. Okay. So now clear, I believe that when telecom data or whatever data you will be using for analysis, it has to be converted into numbers. Only then you will be able to pre-process it. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to analyze it and you won't be able to apply machine learning algorithms and equations on it. Now what next we will be doing? So here, let us just check the correlations of data. Okay. Now we're going to check the correlations and you will actually get to understand about the importance of correlations. So correlations, what it does, it definitely gives you the relationships among the response variables and the independent variables. And it also gives you the relationships among the different individual variables available in the data. So we are going to use, let's say we are going to import Seaborn as SNS. Okay. So we'll be using the SNS, and using the SNS, we are going to make a heat map. We're going to make a heat map, and let's say just do one thing. First, let us import it, then run the cell. Once you run the cell, you're going to get that SNS imported, and then you can actually use the help available. So what SNS offers you? SNS is a function which SNS offers you a heat map function which generally requires data attributes. Along with that, there are certain attributes like minimum values, maximum values, color maps, center values. Okay, but we will be using a couple of values here, in which one we will be using is annotations, so that we can get to see the values over that specific color metric, and we won't have to match it with the color bar again and again. So we are going to make use of that. So let's see. So we are going to have the data.correlations. We are going to get the correlations for all the columns, as well as I would like to have annotations equal to true. Okay. Once we plot the graph, it might look very messy because we have not specified the size at the moment. But just to show you the difference, that how it looks like if you do not provide any size or information, it will look somewhat like that. Let's say like this. So we have got information about state, area code, Vmail plan, day minutes, day charges, evening calls, night minutes, total minutes, and all that stuff. Okay. But we are unable to quickly view any information out of it because the graph is very messy at the moment. So in order to avoid this messiness of the graph, what we can do is we can make use of matplot library. You can import matplot live.pyplot as PLT. Okay. And using this PLT, you can actually make subplots. You can specify the figure size. Within the figure size, let's say we are going to have a figure size of 20 cross 10. It's going to return you a figure as well as axis. And at the heat map, you have to pass this axis information. Okay. Once you pass the axis information, you're going to get a better graph, which is much more readable. Okay. So now you can see that we have got all the information available now, since the graph is expanded and appropriately all the values are being displayed to you. You can see that specific values between the total charges and the churn rate. Okay. So with respect to churn rate, now we have to identify how many variables are actually influencing the churn rate in the positive format or the negative format, or it may be possible that there is very less relationship available. So now you can see that with respect to the data available, we can actually observe the churn rate from this line. Okay, so the churn information is actually identified with this line up to here. Okay, and you can now check with the color matrix that what all variables are actually influencing it. So the first variable which we can quickly observe is this 0.26, which is international plan. So churn rate is influenced by international plan, along with 0.21, which means the daily minutes which the user spends on the telecom service, the daily charges which are actually accounted on him, as well as the evening minutes. Actually it is trying to reach approximately up to 10%. So let us just consider it also. Then the evening charges, whatever is applied on him. Okay. Followed by, we have the international minutes, which is available. You can see that the night minutes, night calls and night charges does not make much impact on the churn rate. Okay. As well as the international charges which he pays also has a little big color. Then the customer service is very important. So depending on the customer service, whatever is available, the user might be leaving the platform in case if it does not get a better service on the platform. Followed by, you can see that the total minutes and the total charges which we have actually accounted are also responsible, because they are made through the important variables only. Okay, so you can see that we have made the total charges and total minutes using the following, and you can see that the total minutes are actually depending on the daily minutes, the total charges are depending on the daily charges. Okay, so you can see that this shows the actual correlation. So once we have actually created total minutes by calculating information from 4 different columns, you can actually see that the correlation matrix is capable of showing you that relation, that the total charges is actually depending highly on 4 columns, and that is daily minutes, daily charges, followed by evening minutes, evening charges, night minutes, night charges, and the churn rate. Okay, so now you can see that these are some of the influencing factors, and one of the highest influencing factors for the total charges is the day charge and the daily minutes spent on the platform, followed by the evening charges and the evening minutes, which is approximately 40%. Okay, and the night charges and night minutes are comparatively less with respect to day charges and day minutes. So this is the correlation plot which actually gives you the appropriate information. Okay, and there are certain things like, let's say, if you can observe here that evening charge, okay, is 100% dependent on the evening minutes spent. Okay, so you can see that this is a direct relationship identified between the evening charges and the evening minutes, or else the daily charges and the daily minutes. Okay, so similarly, you can actually see that the charges are actually dependent on daily minutes. Okay, so you can actually see that with these quick analysis, if you have very complex data available with n number of observations, it doesn't make a difference how many observations you have. Even if you have 10, you have 30, you have 5,000, 40,000, whatever number of observations you have, doesn't matter at all. What you just need to do, you need to select the data, pre-process it appropriately, and then check the relationships using correlation matrix. As well as in other algorithms, you can also perform principal component analysis, which actually gives you the influencing variables, those who might be responsible in prediction of the response variable and the outcome. So with this information, I believe it is clear to all of you that these are some of the influencing factors available in the data, okay, which actually helps us predict the churn rate, okay. So now what next we are going to do? Let us just quickly regenerate the data. And you can see that once we start processing this data, what next we have to do? So you are done with pre-processing the data, okay. Now we have to generate the prepared data set. After pre-processing, we have to generate a prepared data set. Now what this prepared data set would be having, I would like to show you. Okay, here we'll do it somewhat like this. Now over this prepared data, once we have got the ready data available, you can see that how the ready data looks like, which we already have in Python. So they have not converted the state, international plans and Gmail as of now, but we have also converted them also. And we have converted all the numbers, churn rate and everything so that it becomes analysis ready. Now we can go to the next part. Now you have to perform training of the model, okay. So the training which has been done here, you can actually open and click on that and go to view original analysis, okay. And under the original analysis, you can go to clustering customers into segments information, where there is no pre-processing script used. There are certain number of charts which are plotted here, which I'm going to show you. So these are the simple charts which are available at the bottom. As you can see, one is your number of count of the records with respect to state. That is not important. I have already shown you that with value counts, okay. We'll quickly see the models which are used for training the data. So you can see that they have actually implemented the clustering models, which is the k-means algorithm was implemented, and it has actually given around 0.07 Silhouette value, which is considered as a good Silhouette value, and you can integrate the model with the web application. So in the regression and classification algorithms, we have the R2 score in order to evaluate. But when you perform clustering, okay, in clustering, the metric is the Silhouette matrix. So you can go to Wikipedia and quickly check about what the Silhouette matrix is. It is very similar to R2 score, okay, but not exactly R2 score. R2 score, it is very similar to, as R2 score is for regression algorithms, Silhouette is for clustering algorithms, okay. Now we are going to implement that clustering algorithm here. So let's just implement the clustering algorithm. And after clustering, what is going to happen? That I would like to show you before I train the model. So let's go to the flow. Once you are done with training the data, you will identify that k-means algorithm is the best algorithm, which can actually help you perform the prediction. And what this clustering will do, it will actually convert the data into into specific number of clusters, depending on what kind of parameters we want to identify, okay. So here, if I show you the analysis, which has been done here. So under this k-means analysis, here around 7 clusters have been made, okay, and the cluster information is represented to you here. So 7 cluster means there will be different groups, and if let us just quickly have the scatter plot. Let's say we are going to have, let's say we will have the total charge, okay, and on the horizontal axis, let's say we have the day charge and the night charge. I'll show you. Let's say we have the day charge and let's say we have the night charge, okay. So we are making the clusters like that. So now you can see that this is how the cluster representation has been done. So of different number of graphs. So you can see that here in the legend, we have different colors available. You can see there is an orange color, there is a red color, there is a blue color, and you can quickly see that the clusters actually define the properties of different number of users. So this area is generally by the yellow users. Then you have this area generally by the blue users. This area is mostly captured by the red users. This area is generally captured by the violet users. Okay. And this is generally taken by the indigo color users. So there are different number of clusters available over here. Okay. Then you have the green distributed into the code. You have dark blue distributed into the code, into the graph. So this actually shows the property of different types of behavior and what kind of pattern is being identified. So there are around 7 clusters, and what these clusters actually are, I'll actually show you. Okay, and we will make it in Python also. So we are going to apply clustering on it, and depending on clustering, all these important variables will be identified, like the dependence of total minutes, the total charges, the day charges, evening minutes, day minutes, night minutes. All these values will be considered. Using that, different cluster labels will be made, and what will these cluster labels represent? So that I'll just quickly show you. So there will be certain cluster profiles available here under the summary. So in the cluster 0, we will be having those which has 100% of cluster yes for the vmail plan. So these are the voice mailers. Okay. Second type of cluster, what it will have total charge is an average. Okay. And which means total minutes is an average and day charge is an average. So this is an average customer with basic charges and basic minutes spent on the platform. So this is a normal user on the telecom data. Then here we have night minutes is an average 9.42% greater. So that means this is a night caller. So cluster 2 will be representing the night callers, okay, which will be in green colors. Then you will be having blue colors, which shows date charge is an average greater than 20.82%, which means this is a group. Cluster 3 is going to be a group of people which generally make calls in the morning, in the daytime. Okay, the night time is smaller for them, but the daytime is higher for them. So that actually shows that it could be a day caller. Okay. Then again, we have the next profile where we have the evening minutes is generally greater and the evening charges is greater with respect to the daily minutes. So you will get to know that he is a evening caller. Okay. So now you can see we are trying to cluster the people with respect to their behavior, that who are the normal callers, who are the day callers, who are the night callers, who are the evening callers. We are trying to identify them. And then you can see that 44.98% of these people who are represented in this blue, in this violet color, they generally are churn users. Okay, they are most likely to leave the platform, and the problem with them is the total charges is very higher for them. Total number of minutes which they spent is very higher for them. So it could be possible why they leave. It is possible that since they spend a lot of time on calling and they are the regular callers, and it might be possible the plan which they are using might be very expensive for them. So they might be looking for some low cost plans on other telecom service providers. And that is the reason why they may be switching from current platform to the other platform. So charges could be one thing. Otherwise, it could be possible that it could be a bad customer service experience that may be possible, so that they have switched from the platform. But as you can see, the total minutes are 21.48% greater than the mean of the rates which are generally charged, and the total charges which is spent by these people are 26.77% greater with other respect to other people. So that means these are the high spenders. Okay, and the high spenders are actually leaving out of the service. So in order to have them on the platform, what we can do is we can actually check the market competition, and we can provide these high spenders some plans so that they stay on the telecom service itself. Okay, because if they stay on the telecom service, more other data will be actually taken from them, which will be analyzed for the demographics behavior in order to show them the targeted ads and various other stuff like that. Okay, then finally, we have the cluster 6, which is generally the night callers as well as the international minutes is greater for them. So they can be considered as the international callers. So it's not like that they call in the night, but it is possible that they work remotely. Let's say I'm in India, but I work with Canada also. So the Canada time is for us, the Canada time is 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. is their morning 8 p.m. to let's say 2 p.m. So in case if we have to work with respect to Canada time from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., we have to generally work from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. 2 a.m. in India. So if we are making calls at that point of time, generally it looks like that we are evening callers as well as the night callers. But the basic reason behind it that we are international callers, so we make those calls in that time because in the other country it is morning. Okay, so now it's not good for them in case if we, let's say if we offer a free night plan for them to call in nationwide, since they are calling internationally, that night plan, local night plan will not work for them. So we have to identify this, how many people are actually the international callers out of the people, and instead of giving them a night plan, we should give them an international plan. Okay, and that too all the time, whatever is possible, so as to retain them on the service. So all these analysis has to be done and these clusters have to be made. So how we can make these clusters? We can actually make these clusters using clustering. So let's import sklearn. We're going to make use of this algorithm sklearn. Within that sklearn, we have the cluster available. Let's say we have to use from sklearn.cluster, we have to import k-means. Okay, so there is an algorithm, k-means algorithm, which we are going to use. We're going to use k-means algorithm. Before calling that algorithm, let us just quickly run the cell. Let's use the k-means. Once you use k-means, you have to provide the clusters. Okay, so now how many clusters I would like to actually make? I would like to make 9 clusters. So as to identify my voice mailers, my normal users, or let's say the low spenders, you can consider them as low spenders. Then we have to cluster them as high, the night callers. Okay, then we have to identify as day callers, and then we have to identify as the evening callers, and the high spenders, and finally as the international callers. So there will be around 7 clusters which we want to from this analysis. Okay. So let us just quickly specify the number of clusters which we want to make. So we want to make the number of clusters as 7. Okay, and this is going to become our mathematical model. So let's run this cell, and you're going to get your model selected. So once we get the model, now the next step would be to train the model using the data. What we're going to do, we're going to use model.fit. Okay, and once we call model here, what exactly you would be needing? Let's say I would like to call model.fit. Okay, once you call fit, we have to actually specify x and values. So let us just quickly take the help and see what it has to offer. So in fitting, we have to pass the values of x, that is the independent variables, and what it will do, it will compute k-means clustering for us, and depending on it, it is going to return us an object of k-means algorithm, and using that k-means algorithm, we are going to get the attribute, the cluster centers or the number of clusters which we have got. So we can use that, and accordingly we can predict the specific cluster for each particular user. So naturally we are going to identify which user belongs to what kind of cluster, and then we can make a plot in order to understand the stuff. Okay, so let's say we are going to use model.fit. We are going to pass data. Okay, and within this data we have a number of columns which we will be passing in, and once we will be passing in that information, one thing we have to do here is we have to remove the 4 numbers out of this. Okay, state action length, you can see that the phone numbers have not been accounted in this correlation analysis, and that is because the phone number is considered as a string because it contains a 382 minus kind of symbol. Okay, as well as there is no relation with the phone number with respect to whether he is going to stay into the organization or not. So what we are going to do, let us just remove the phone number out of the data. So let's just collect the data of columns, data.columns. Okay, and we are going to save that into independent variables. Now from that independent variables, if you want to quickly see the independent variables which are available, so we have these independent variables, state, account length, and we have to remove phone out of it. So phone is at index number 0, 1, 2, 3. Phone is at index number 0, so I'm going to delete that. So independent.delete, delete the index number 3, and again save the appropriate data into independent, and finally print the independent variables. So now once we print that, you can see that the phone has been removed now from the data set. Okay, and now when we will fit the model, what we will be doing within the data, we are going to pass this independent values and we are going to save that. Okay, so we are going to train using the model and predict using the k-means model. Let's say what we will be predicting, we will predict clusters using the k-means algorithm. Okay, so to get an understanding about k-means algorithm, there are various good websites which you all can refer in order to understand the background of how the algorithm works. Okay, so now what we will be doing, we are going to use model.predict, and in the model.predict, we are going to make use of this data.independent value. Okay, this is our x variable you can consider, and finally you are going to get the cluster labels for your data. So I'm going to call it as cluster labels. Okay, so once we run that, let's just print the data.head, and we are going to get the top 3 rows. So once I run that, I'm going to get the cluster labels. So this cluster label, what it will do, it will actually categorize my user into a specific category, whether he is a high spender or a low spender, or he's an international caller, or he's what kind of attribute or features does he has. Okay, so now you can see that at the end we have got the cluster labels available for this user, that he is in the cluster label 3, he is in cluster label 0, he is in cluster label 2. So accordingly, we can quickly check with the graphs that who are the high charges people, who are the low charges people, and we can make a number of plots just to identify that which specific cluster shows what kind of property. Okay, so now you can see that once you have got this cluster labels 3, 0, 2, 1 and all, now what we can do is we can make the plots just to understand better what is displayed by cluster 3, what is displayed by cluster 0, what is displayed by cluster 2, and so on. So just in order to quickly check back how many clusters now you have got. So if we come here on cluster label, and if you quickly print the value counts, you all can actually see, oh sorry, that is cluster labels. Let's run it. So once we print cluster labels, you can see that we have got around 7 clusters available, 0 to 6, and every specific cluster has some different number of observations. Okay, so the data is properly distributed, and we can get good insights about each and every cluster. Now how we can actually grab the information out of this cluster. So let's just make certain plots. Okay, you can make the bar plots, you can make the line plots, and various stuff in order to identify the information from the users. So first thing which we are going to do is, let's perform interpretation and evaluation. Okay, so we'll grab interpretation and evaluation, and in order to perform interpretation and evaluation, I'll quickly show you what kind of graphs are made here. So these are the parts which are already clear to you, and I'll show you the predicted data also for the specific number of users. So you can see that here the predictions has been done. So they have actually got cluster 3, cluster 5, cluster 0, cluster 1, 2 for each and every observation which is available in the data. And similarly, we all have also got our clusters identified for every individual user. So using k-means algorithm, what we can do is we can filter the people in different clusters so as to identify their properties and behaviors. Okay. Now, so what kind of charts can be made now? You can quickly come here and see the charts which are actually plotted here. So first, at the bottom, you can see there are various charts available there are 3 charts actually available over here. So let's just plot a couple of the charts here so that you guys will get to know how we can extract the knowledge. So first plot, which you can see here, is on the x-axis we have the cluster label, and on the y-axis we have the total charges. So using this, we are actually trying to identify which specific cluster offers what kind of charge levels. So we can see that cluster 5 in this analysis is that specific cluster where high spenders are available, and cluster 1 is something where low spenders are available. And there are certain other clusters which do invest moderately, like cluster 0, cluster 2, cluster 3, and cluster 6. They does not show us, they show us moderate spending, but 2 clusters here in this specific analysis, they are actually showing high spenders and the low spenders. Okay, so we can actually identify with respect to the charge. So this is one property that we can identify who is the high spender and who is the low spender. So let's just quickly see how we can do that in Python. So you can actually identify that information in Python. So let's say, so we can go here, interpretation and evaluation, and finally let's just quickly plot. So we are going to check the high spenders and low spenders from the data. Okay, that's what we have, this knowledge we have to extract. So how we are going to extract that knowledge? Let's say we are going to have plt.bar plot. Now we can have a bar plot. In the bar plot, what can be done? Let's just have the example of the bar plot, what is required. So it will make a bar plot. You are going to give the value of x, you're going to give the value of height, you can give the width of the bar plots which you want to make. So two information is important, the x values and the y values. So in the graph here, you can see that on the x we have the cluster labels, and on the y-axis we do have the total charges spent by the consumer. Okay, so let's go for it. Let's print that. So on x-axis we are going to have the cluster labels. Let's have cluster labels, and on the height we are going to have the day charge. Okay, or you can also have the total charge. Let's say I'll just quickly check back the name of the columns which I have used. So here we have the total charges. So let's just quickly plot that with total charges, and plt.x label. Let's say we are going to have the cluster profiles of users will be on the x-axis, and on the y-axis you're going to have total charges spent by users. Okay. And plt.title, let's say identify let's say high and low spenders on platform. Okay, so let's say we are going to quickly run that. So once we run that, we're going to quickly get a graph out of it here, and you can see like that here. So in the graph, with respect to our data, whatever has been analyzed here, we can actually identify that cluster number 3 in our case actually contains the high spenders, and cluster number 5 actually represents in our case as the lowest spenders. Then cluster number 0, cluster number 1, cluster number 2, and cluster number 4 are moderate, and cluster number 4 is also considered as can be considered as a little high profile, where the people spend high information. So now what you can do is you can quickly filter those records out where the cluster label is either 3 or where the cluster label is either 4. You can quickly filter those people out. Okay. So this is the knowledge which we have actually grabbed. So you can quickly represent here from the telecom data. From the telecom data, we identified, okay, let's say we identified cluster 3 belongs, cluster 3, 4 belongs to high spenders, and cluster 5 belongs to low spenders. Okay, this is the information which we have actually identified from the data here. Now, if you want to identify the exact people with specific phone numbers or whatever it is who generally has this profile, so what you can do is you can actually perform some SQL-like operations. Okay, so let's say performing SQL-like operations in data frame. So you're going to execute something like filter those records from the data where the cluster label is equal to 3 or is equal to 4, something like that. Okay, so what we can do, we can filter the data out, and out of that we have to filter those columns out where the data of cluster labels, okay, is equal to 3, let's say. So we are going to filter that information out, and now you can see that we have only got those people who only have the cluster information with 3. Okay, so this is, you can quickly filter out. So this becomes your high spenders. Okay, so now what I can do is I can quickly keep their data, let's say in high spenders data. Okay, so I will have that high spenders. Okay, suppose similarly, in case once you have got the high spenders, and if you want to send promotion to these high spenders, what you can do is high spenders phone number, you can quickly fetch that. So you can quickly fetch high_spenders, and you can, from that high spenders, you can actually grab the information of the phone from them. Okay, and then we can print high_spenders_phone. Okay, so let's say if we print that, you can quickly get the appropriate phone numbers out of those people which are high spenders on the platform. Okay, so now what we can do is we can write a simple for loop and send a email or anything to them that this is the new offer which you all can take up now. So we can also take the average spending limit of them. What is the spending? What is the mean value of their total charges? And we can offer them, we can quickly check the profits which we are making, and we can offer them 10% discount to them depending on certain properties like that. Okay, so all these things you can do. And let's say in case if you have to make a marketing strategy now to send it to these high spenders, so what you can do is you can quickly write a simple loop somewhat like that in Python, like for phone in high spenders phone, high spenders_phone. Okay, so let's say what you can do is you can actually send an SMS. Let's say you can, let's say you can you can define your SMS logic here. Okay, so I'll just like define SMS logic here. Okay, so that also is pretty easy to define the SMS logic with which you can actually send the offers. So if you guys want to see how that can be, how actually that can be done, so so it's pretty easy to define the SMS features and all. You can make use of SMS gateways and you can integrate that logic here. If you just want to have a look at how that is done, I'm going to actually show you how that SMS logic is implemented in the data. So here I'll show you the SMS logic in the data, how we generally send the emails and the messages out of the platform in order to give them an appropriate offer. So that could be useful for them. So let's say this is a simple SMS logic which I might be using here. So let's say, so here is my SMS logic, which I'll define over here. Okay, so I have got this function over here. Let's say I make use of a property of Nimbus IT solutions to send my messages. So I'm going to send a post request, and in order to do that, I need to actually import requests. Okay, import requests. So we are going to import the request. We can send a message to that. We can specify our username and password. We can specify the SMS sender ID. Then we can specify the message which we want to send and to what mobile number which we want to send. Okay. So, and finally, we are going to get that SMS has been sent to that user. So for now, what I'll just do is you can actually write the complete logic for sending the SMS. Like you can actually call like the send SMS, and you can define the phone number. So phone number will be the phone which we have actually received from the high spenders, and we can send them as new offer, recharge with 399, recharge with 300 to get free plans, free, let's say, to get 20% discount, let's say, kind of that. So you can push in any offer. Okay. So just to give you a sample activity that how that can be done. So this could be the main logic which you all can actually do. And but I would like to break it because I'll just show you a display of one specific example that how that SMS can be sent, so that you will actually be able to see the appropriate that. So we are going to actually get the phone number, but since in my data, the phone numbers which we have are the international numbers, so I cannot send information to them. So temporarily I'm using a random number, let's say my own number 8920629494, just to show you the demonstration. And I'm just opening my phone just to show you how with this SMS we can, how this facility we can get the SMS on phone. So I'm just connecting that with you. Okay, so here you can see that I have got my device created here. I'll just keep it on one side for the demonstration. Okay, so now what happens in my case, currently the phone number which will be considered for the SMS to be sent will be 8920629494. That is my number. But in general case, this phone number will actually be replaced with send SMS. In case if I would have been in India, I could have forwarded all that. And I'm going to receive a message like new offer, and I'm breaking it just because I want to send only one message just for the demonstration. But in a real-time thing, you can remove this break, and you can remove this phone number also. You can remove this break code also, so that you can send the discount offer to all the people with that particular high spending limit. Okay. So now let me just quickly show you that example. So if I quickly execute a message from here, so an SMS will be sent, and on the right hand side, if the OTP service is working fine, I'm going to get a message on my number. So here I have actually opened my phone. Let's just see in what time that SMS will be delivered. Okay, so I also need to have, you also need to have in your SMS gateway, you should have that specific facility of the number of messages which you have to send, that recharge should be available. So I would actually check if I do have my account has some balance on this facility or not. Let me just quickly check that. So here I have just taken the facility, let's say from Nimbus IT solutions. So you can take the SMS gateway facility from any of the service providers, and you can simply integrate that with a push request. So I'll just log in with an OTP, and I'll quickly show you. Okay, so that is 690,772. 690,772. Okay, so I'll verify that. So I'll check if I have any balance. Okay, so since my credit balance is 0, so I wouldn't have got that message here. But I'll show you with one more option. I can show you with an email here just to complete this demonstration. So if I would be having that balance, I would have actually got that SMS. So I believe yesterday my SMS balance has been consumed, so that SMS couldn't be sent. but I'll just quickly check in case if I have any information available here in the sent messages. Maybe I'll just quickly see. Okay, so I'll just skip this particular part. I'll just show you with that email thing. But similarly, you can send that SMS to the user. But I will currently show you with the email process. Now, how we can do that with a simple email process. So you need to have to create an email template. So I have an email template created in Python, which I will show you how that code looks like. So this is the HTML content which I have to quickly show in the email. So I'm going to design a new cell here, like the way I have created for SMS. I'm going to actually create that for email template. Okay, so this is going to be my HTML code. So if you are a web programmer, you can actually define a simple method like create an email, and you can define the facilities or the information which you want to define it. So let's say I'm sending the customer name, customer email ID, the title number, the messages, the button title, the button URL, and kind of that. So in case if in your data, if you are having the email IDs of the user, you can push the offers to their mail IDs also. Okay. So this is the create mail method, which I have available over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly run that cell. Apart from that, using Amazon Web Services, we will be transmitting that email. So what you can do is you can make use of simple email service facility from Amazon AWS. And it's very easy. Just you need to define your body, the sender ID. The AWS region is AP South 1 Mumbai. And using the Boto3 client, using the Amazon simple email service, using your region, you can actually send a mail to the user. So in the mail, you have to actually create a send. You have to call the function send mail on the Boto client, and it actually requires a couple of parameters like destination, message, and you can specify your body, HTML character set, and your text character set, and the subject, and all that information. And you can successfully send the email. So let's say I'm going to copy this AWS initialization code also. So in case if anybody needs that, you can actually refer to AWS simple email service, and you will be able to get these response codes with Boto3, how you can send that. And finally, what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to send that mail. So finally here, just to complete the demonstration, instead of send SMS, I would be sending, let's say, a send email. Okay, so I'm going to call send email. Within send email, I have a couple of things which I have to actually pass in. I need to pass in the email ID, the email body, and the subject. So email ID, email body, and email subject, as well as I would also be needing a couple of more information like create email first, and after creation of the email, then I will be able to send it. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you. So first we have to create the email data, and whatever the email data has been created, that we will be passing in the email information, and we are going to send that mail. So how do I generally call that specific facility? I'll just quickly show you. So let's say in case if I have to send an email to anybody, what I'll generally do, first I'm going to create the email data with the create email functionality, and finally I'm going to send the mail with the appropriate subject. Okay. So similarly, let's say in my specific code, I'm going to write both of the statements here. First, we create the email data, and then we are going to send the email. So here, generally, I have certain information like student name, which I'm going to replace. Let's say I'm going to replace that with Devanshu. I have an email ID, which I'm going to replace with, let's say, 007devansh@gmail.com, just to show you. Then title will be, let's say, offer for whatever discount we have. Okay. So, and finally, we will be having a message. Let's say we are going to recharge with 300 discount coupon, somewhat like this. Okay. And you can have a button title. Let's say we do have a button title here. Let's say I'm going to call it as offer. I'm going to define a specific URL where he can claim the offer. Let's say he can claim the offer at https://weather.in. kind of that. So I'm going to create an email followed by the email which we have to actually pass. Let's say I'm going to pass it to 007devansh@gmail.com. Okay, so I'll be using like that with the email data and the specific subject. And for the subject, we can again, let's say, call telecom offer. Okay, so I'm going to execute something like that. So this is going to be one specific mail would be sent to the user once I execute the stuff. So we also need to import the Boto3 client here. So the way we have imported the request, we have to import Boto3 client also. And I think this facility, Boto3, has to be installed on the local machine also. Only then it will be able to send. And AWS console has also need to be installed on your local machine. So generally on my machine currently, I do have Boto3 installed on my this script where I do have my Python available. So the messages facility will actually you will be able to send it from the local machines only, not from the Google Cloud machine. So currently, since I'm on Jupyter Notebook, I won't be able to send an email from here. But similarly, you can set up the Boto3 and you can do that stuff. Okay. So this is how, what we can do is we can generally send the message facilities, as well as we can actually use the email facilities also. But for now, I'm going to delete both of this. This was just to give you a quick insight about how people actually offer after analysis has been done. Okay. So just a couple of more important information I would like to share. So you can have the emails and the SMS facilities and the similar stuff. And once my account gets restored, I will also make another video where this demonstration can be actually observed. Okay. So this is how we can actually define something like that, that you can send in an SMS, you can send in a number, you can remove this code, and I will also remove this code that can become for your reference, where you can take the phone from whatever has been available to you, and I can remove this also. Okay. So like that, you can have your send SMS logic, and you can actually send the information to the specific consumers about whatever offer they have to send. Okay. So for now, I'm just commenting it. And before, since you all have already identified the high spenders and the low spenders from the platform, and you actually got to know who are the actual high spenders and the low spenders, and you got their information fetched out, what next we are going to do? Now we are going to observe the overall properties of this. So we are going to make a cluster kind of diagram in order to show different properties of the users. So let's say we are going to have x-axis will be having day charges, y-axis we will be having the night charges, and then we will be having the cluster labels as hue, which can actually show you the category of the data. Okay. As to what is the general distribution of the users in the whole data. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly remove the night charge and the day charge from here, and the cluster labels also. So what I'll do is I'll quickly select it again, the day charge on x-axis, the night charge on y-axis. So once you do that, you're going to get all the data available for the day charge and night charge somewhat like this. Okay, this is the total data available. But now from this total data, we want to identify different groups of users, like the high spenders, low spenders, and we want to see their distribution in the data. So for that, we can actually select the cluster labels, and we can define that in the hue. And once you define that in the hue, now the same distribution will have different colors available. And you can see that the blue color data is represented only with the cluster 5. Okay, so cluster 5 is generally at the right side of the data. Cluster 0 is at the center. Cluster 3 is at the right bottom. Cluster 1 is at the left bottom. Cluster 2 is in the middle of the data. Cluster 4 is at just adjacent to the middle on the left adjacent side. And cluster 5 is at the top side of the distributions. Okay. So this is how our overall data has been distributed with respect to the customers which we have. And now we can actually filter out who will be what kind of customer distributions we have. So if you have to quickly plot that in Python, that also you can do. And for that, we do have an SNS LM plot. Okay, you can actually have the LM plot, which offers you this facility to create the graphs for the clusters. Okay, so what it does, it will plot data and regression model fits across the facet grid. So first we need to have the X information. This is going to be the X axis column which you want to specify. Let's say we are going to take it as day charges. Then on Y, you can have the night charges. You can have the overall distribution of the people with total charges, as well as you can also have total charges and total minutes also. And then you can provide the complete data which you want to be analyzed. And then you can pass the hue information, which will actually distribute or group, or it will show the different clusters with different colors information. Okay, so let's say, so I'm going to define X. Let's say X is going to be the day charge. Let's say first I'm going to show you with the information which we have plotted with the data IQ. Then we are going to have the night charge, let's say. Finally, after X and Y, you are going to have the data. This data is going to be your complete data, whatever is available with you. And after filtering the information out, like the high spenders, the low spenders, you can also plot them as scatter plot. That can also be done. You can also plot them with the histogram and with the other columns in the data in order to gain more insights about the data. As well as you can quickly take the complete data also in order to have the complete overall distribution of the users. Okay, so here what I'm actually doing is I'm actually show the overall distribution of telecom users in the data set. Okay, and finally we are going to have the hue information, that is going to be with which column we actually want to show the hue. So this is going to be cluster labels. Okay, so since we have passed the complete data, now out of this complete data, which has 3,334 rows and 24 columns, here in x-axis, y-axis, and hue, you just need to define the name of the column which is available in this data, and automatically you're going to get your SNS LM plot created appropriately. As well as, again, you can have the axis values in order to have your appropriate graph. Okay, so as of now you can see that we are getting the facet, the lines as well. So just to turn off the lines, what it is doing, it is actually fitting the regression. So we can quickly set it to false. We don't want the regression to be fitted, so the lines won't be plotted. I think let me just check the option. We have REG. Here in the option, we actually need to check with the fit regression. Okay. X partial, X data, what we have. Okay, I'll do one thing. Let me just quickly cut this out. Command X. Okay, LM plot. I'm going to quickly check. So I'm going to have SNS LM plot. Within that, I am going to, okay, it's fit regression. So by default, it is true. We have to change it to false. From fit regression, you have to call fit_x, so that straight lines won't be plotted. As well as you have the axis values also here. Maybe I'm going to check if we do have the axis values available for this plot also. We have the size plot, we have line KWS, jitter, truncation, partial values, robust, logistic values, regression values, scatter values, expense estimators, legends. We have legends equal to true. We have column order, hue order. Okay, so we don't have the axis here, but you have the size property here. I check what kind of information can directly provide the tuple of row columns in the size that I am going to quickly check back. They have given for the size of the data here. Okay, we have the scatter line KWS dictionaries. No example for size has been given over here, but we can actually check the references where we can know about how many rows and columns you want to, so that you can actually make a page. So let's is equal to false. So that lines won't be plotted now. Once I run that, you can see that we are not going to get lines. You're going to get the appropriate graph, as well also have the size specified, so that identify the differences, but still how you are actually able to identify the differences of the different clusters. So let's say this is our number 3, red color. Okay, then we have this behavior, which is of this behavior. We have the 4th cluster, which we have of this behavior. Okay. So this is, then you have some green color value here. So all these different clusters about high spenders, low spenders, and all this thing you can actually identify every attribute. So with the current attribute, actually we have got this 3, and 3 actually represents our highest spenders, which we have actually checked in the previous plot. And you can see that on the left hand side we have the night charges, and here we have the day charges. Okay, so you can see that with respect to, let's say if we increase the graph in this manner, okay, so you can see that the red colors naturally shows that these are the highest charges paid by the user in the day, and this is the highest charges of the users paid in the night. Okay, that's why we say we can actually identify the highest payers. Similarly, you can see that these users, the users represented in brown color, if I remove all of them here again, okay, so you can see that if we see here about this user, so these brown users are generally those users, those who have low spending limit. They spend low either in the night charges, or they spend low either in the day charges, and we can actually quickly identify that with this 5. Okay, so these are the knowledge insights which we actually extract from the data. So we got a total data, we analyzed it, we pre-processed it, we clustered the information out, and we can also see that we have identified how many users which are churn in nature. Okay, we can quickly check back those churn users, and then we can identify, we can perform the prediction with respect to the new data coming into the system. So let's say we can have an unlabeled data which does not have the cluster information, but it does have the, which does not have the information for churn, but it does have the information about the spending limit of the user in the day, night, evening, and so on. And depending on that behavior, we can give that value to our model.predict, and it can give the cluster label. And depending on the cluster label, we can identify the property of that particular user, whether he's a high spender, low spender, and whatever it is. And if he's a high spender, it is a probability that high spenders are more likely to leave the platform. And there are a couple of reasons behind that. And so what we can do is we can actually offer them some good offers with respect to every individual behavior of the user, so that we can keep them on the platform and we can maximize the profits. Okay, so I believe this is pretty clear to all the participants. I'm sharing the script link to all of you so that you all will be able to relate it further. You all can quickly think of a lot of other things, like, do I want to identify the small spenders? Do I want to identify the international callers? I want to identify the night callers for the night plans. I want to quickly check the mean of the spend and what is my profit stake, and if I give 10% discount, what all profit I'm going to get. Is it still profitable from the actual investment which I have done? So all that thing can be, all that data science analysis can be done. And how machine learning will act here, you can get a new user's data and you can predict that. Will he be a churn user? Will he be a high spender? Will he be a low spender? And kind of that. And accordingly, your system can predict an appropriate plan for that user and can send it to him, so that you can have the best user experience with AI and machine learning. And it's not just limited to telecom data, actually. You can actually use it with different numbers of users also. Okay. So I guess this is clear to all of you. Okay, so any questions here? I do have only the good afternoon and good evenings here. And any other thing, Kumar, Akansh, clear, good afternoon, Nanak Singh Khurana, okay, Ujjwal Surbi, Mangesh, okay, fine. Okay, so this is how we generally implement how telecom data is analyzed and how we extract important knowledge. So in the start of the training, I have told you all that you can implement this machine learning in a very appropriate manner with the complete structured approach. You get the data, you perform selection, you pre-process the data, you transform the data, you mine the data, you interpret and evaluate, and using the graphical patterns, we grab the knowledge that what exactly is happening so as to maximize the profit. Okay. And the best part of machine learning is when the new data will be coming in, we can actually predict whether he's going to be a churn or not. So similarly, yesterday I have written a simple logic for predicting the price. You can implement the logic here itself in order to predict whether he's going to be a churn user or not, or to which cluster he's going to belong to, and kind of that. Okay, so this is the cluster property which where we have identified the user demographic, whether he's a high spender, low spender, and kind of that. And further, you can use this data to apply random forest classification so as to predict whether he's a churn or not, a new user, and finally you can calculate the revenue loss. So I would really suggest you all to actually go to the flow, and within the flow we have actually completed till the segmented model here, where we have got a customer with a segmented information. So finally, what you can do once you are done with the analysis, you can actually replace your columns with something like this: high spenders, evening, night callers, day callers, low spenders. Okay, so if I show you the final analysis of the data, that what has been predicted out. So it has been identified that this is a day caller, this is a night caller, this is a low spender, this is a V mailer, voice mailer, this is a high spender, this is a local caller. So you can actually predict the user with all of these 6 labels. Okay, and further you can continue this analysis in order to further train it with random forest. Once you train it with random forest, what you're going to get, you are going to get another data for prediction. You will be using another data for prediction where the information of night calls, day calls, and everything would be available. And finally, we are going to pre-process the data. Under the pre-processing, there is no such stuff, just they have created a revenue loss formula. To create the revenue loss formula, what they have used the prediction column. Okay, so here you can see that there will be a prediction column whether he is a churn or not. Okay, so somehow here the columns are not printed at the moment. Okay, now that might have been printed here. Okay, so here there would be a prediction column, would be like yes and no after the high spenders. Okay, yes and no. So this is the prediction column. The column for churn, whether he is going to be stay on the platform. One is going to be he might be moving on to the platform. And using that churn prediction with a simple random forest, okay, like the way we did yesterday. So we can actually calculate the revenue loss, and for revenue loss, we can take the data of the prediction, multiply that with total charge minus probability of 0 into total charge. Okay, so we calculate the probability of whether he's a high caller or a night caller or a day caller and something like that, and we can identify the loss of that particular user with that particular user if he might leave. So let's say if in this case you can see that if user number 5 is a churn user, then we are going to lose approximately 76 USD on him. Another user, we are going to lose 47 US dollars on him. So we can actually see the people where we are going to have a heavy loss, and we can quickly set a threshold value like all the people of where we will be having a loss of above 50 USD, quickly give them certain discounts so as to have them on the platform. So we can identify who will be our highest paying customers, and we don't want them to leave the platform. Okay, so data science and analysis helps you in that way. So you can do it both ways. You can analyze it programmatically, you can analyze it with specific tools, and finally you can represent this information to the stakeholders. And once you represent the information to the stakeholders, stakeholders won't understand the information with numbers, because in your data, the numbers could be big data, and there could be thousands of records and lakhs and crores of records will be available. Because as you know, in a real data of telecom, let's say if we talk about the subscribers in India itself, there would be a data of 1156 million customers. So we cannot quickly do check each and every record. But with machine learning, if we have those records of 1156 million, within a couple of seconds, we can actually filter the specific users out, that who are the highest customers, who are the low paying customers, and different kinds of user demographics we can quickly filter out, and we can propose them appropriate plan so as to have them and protect them on the platform. So this is how everything is done here. I think I have already shared the link to all the participants. Again, just for your reference, I'm sharing this link so that it will be clear for all of you. So if there is any question, you all can let me know. And this is how we implement machine learning practically. Now I would like to suggest you all, in order to make a product, in order to make a website for this, it is very simple. You have to follow how to set up AWS. So in your one-to-one account, I have shared you AWS course. Just to create a complete website, I have shared the full stack web development, where you can create the sign up login pages and other pages required for your machine learning algorithms to be integrated with web, as well as how to integrate the payment gateways, how to integrate the chat support, and all that is covered in the full stack website development course that is available free of cost. You can take this up. And in the data science and machine learning, a complete integration of the website with the machine learning model is available. So in the last 3 sessions, how to deploy machine learning model on AWS, right from the setup to integrating, how to integrate that model with the application, and how to design a responsive web application and deploy it on AWS and make it live so that the actual customers can use it. Okay. So all that 3 sessions are recorded. So I believe after today's telecom session, you can reach out to one-to-one, complete this project part, and that will give you actual insight about how real product can be formed. Okay. And if you have any queries, feel free to reach out to our website and speak to the mentors. They'll help you out with the queries. Along with that, one more thing, again, which I would like to recommend to all of you. We have made this platform free of cost to learn, to make people learn different technologies and make the products out, because every individual requirement about the latest company requirements, we have actually shared on our career-oriented programs with various great companies. Let's say Kivitech is also hiring for machine learning, and there are so many other companies. So for each specific company, we have actually filtered out the concepts which are required in order to fulfill that role. Okay, so you will be having specific courses for each and every profile. You can quickly get started. You don't need to pay anything. The prices available here are just for the references, that what worth product you are using. So within a duration of 3-month time, by learning at least 1 lesson a day, you can quickly run that. You can reach out to the platform, register, and you can get the account free of cost, where you will get access to the specific content, and all the content is practically arranged so that you can actually implement it practically, make a project out of it. And in each course there is a project, so that will be helpful when you will go for the interviews and for other processes, not just for data science and analysis, but even for other profiles also, like Android, web designing, cyber security, big data analyst, and many more. So that's all for today's session. If you guys have any query, feel free to share your queries. Also, we would like you all to share your valuable feedback of the training on our Google reviews. So here, I'm going to share the Google review link. If you all have liked the session, we would be grateful if you all can share your valuable reviews with us on the URL provided. I would also like to share this link of review to our faculty members also, and I would be glad if all the faculty members can also share their experience of this 5-day live training on this Google review sheet, on this Google review. That might be very helpful for all other participants, those who might be learning on the platform. So just a moment, I'll just quickly give that here on the chat segment. Yeah, so all the faculty members on the chat, there is a Google review link. So we would be glad if you all can quickly write us a review for the program. So guys, that's all for the day. I believe there would be a valedictory function, a valedictory speech would be there. So sir, I'm done with the session. If you have to say anything, please, you can go for it.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible.
Just a minute, sir.
Sir, अमित श्रीवास्तव सर का वॉइस ऑडिबल नहीं है.
सर अनम्यूट करिए प्लीज.
Yeah.
Amit sir,
Is it now audible? My voice is audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, so a very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. Today is the last day of the 8-day long workshop on machine learning in Python. So I have enjoyed and learned a lot from this workshop. Devanshu sir has given knowledge with practical industry related examples. So we all have benefited a lot from it. Also in one-to-one account which you are providing to us, which is totally free of cost, it is also a great help to all the participants. So Devanshu sir, I would like to thank you for such a wonderful workshop. Also, I would like to say thanks to the TechCube team, because TechCube team is really doing taking initiatives for around approximately 180 affiliated colleges, which are unaided, actually, which are private and unaided institutions. They are providing this kind of TechCube funding to all those colleges. This is another thing, whether they are utilizing it or not. So I would like to thank SC Chaubis sir also for allowing us to do this kind of workshop, though he is not present due to his busy schedule. But yeah, that's all I want to say. In the last, to the participants, I would like to say, all of you please fill the feedback form which we have provided you in the WhatsApp link for the certificate purpose also, and also fill the certificate, also fill the feedback form which Devanshu sir has provided. Now, Devanshu sir, would you like to say anything, or I'll offer them Dr. Jay sir to say a word of thanks, and then we'll wind up.
Dr. Jain sir can speak first, and then I'll just express my feedback at the end.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, thank you, sir. An ignited mind is the most powerful weapon on the earth, above the earth, and under the earth. And this can be achieved only by education. Education is the most profitable investment in our life. Warm and graceful good afternoon to our most valued guest, course speaker, workshop management committee, worthy participants, as well as one and all gathered over here. I, Dr. Jaikumar Jain, presenting vote of thanks behalf of SIRT and RITS Bhopal. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sunil Kumar Sir, TechCube Coordinator, respected Dr. S.C. Chaubey Sir, Director SIRT, Manish Manoria Sir, Director RIST, Dr. R.K. Pandey Sir, Workshop Coordinator, Dr. Amit Srivastava Sir, Workshop Speaker, Mr. Devanshu Shukla Sir, all workshop organizing committee members, and all the participants. It's my privilege to give a vote of thanks on this occasion. First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to Almighty. On my own behalf, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the guests who spared time from this busiest schedule to grace the occasion. A big thank you to workshop speaker Mr. Devanshu Shukla for their efforts towards teaching the new concept of machine learning using Python. We would like to thank to Mr. C.P. Dangi sir, Chetan Agrawal sir, Priyanka ma'am, and entire workshop committee for their continuous support to make the workshop a grand success. We would like to thank to all the participants for their support and patience. Last but not least, we are very much thankful to all the dignitaries to provide opportunity for conducting directly and indirectly involved in this program. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you, sir. Now over to you. Please continue, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. And I would like to give you a quick glimpse of how the program started. So I would like to thank Amit Srivastava, sir, for initiating this program. Initially, when the program has to be scheduled, we had various conversations about how the program has to be conducted, and about the TechWeb team. I would also like to thank SC Chaube, sir. I have personally met him a couple of times at Bhopal in various events at different colleges. But this time, I believe due to online and due to his busy schedule, he might not have been available. But I would like to extend my thanks and regards to him for organizing such a wonderful program online and trusting on that online platform. So as you all can see, during COVID, it has been experienced that the education has not suffered, and due to online facility, the education has got a better support. So we actually, Hackweather is working on this online education from quite a long time, but earlier it was very difficult for us to explain to the college administration and the authority that if the students can go to online platform, they can learn from there as well, because the quality content and the internet facilities have been improved graciously after Geo and after various service providers. So if there is someone who is actually willing to learn, he does not need to have a physical faculty or a mentor available specifically at a specific physical location. So that is a very big thing which we all have observed during last 2 months during COVID. So it's a very great opportunity for all the students, all the faculties, and in fact all the corporates as well, so that they all can integrate now and work towards filling this knowledge gap. Earlier, there was a very big trouble that people from big companies were unable to reach out to the colleges at remote. So one is not remote at all, but there are other colleges also falling under RGPV University, which might be available at a distance and at a remote from the city area. So now this internet technology, conducting the workshops on YouTube live with n number of participants. So I believe this is a possibility. So there is no limit for sharing the education now using these platforms like YouTube, Zoom, and even if the number of participants are more, it can be organized pretty well. So that's a great opportunity for all of us, like the academics, like the education, SIRT, the companies like us, Hackweather, and the students, those who are available at the colleges, those who gain all the fundamental information for the faculties itself at the college. And now, just to get them oriented towards what exactly is being done in the industry today, this interfacing can be easily done and extended. So with this, I would like to extend a message to all other corporate people also, that they should actually participate in such programs, because that might really help out the students, as well as the information which needs to be shared to them will actually reach in time, and all these physical disconnectivity won't be a problem at all in future. So I would like to request Amit Srivastava sir to propose many more programs to SIRT management, as well as to RGPV TechWeb management, so that more such programs can be organized and students can be benefited from these programs.
Yes, definitely, sir. We will definitely try.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And you all can share your feedbacks. The feedback links and the reviews link have been provided, as well as the complete support will be provided even after the workshop. This workshop, I would like to request you all to consider this message, that this workshop is just a get started with the technology. It's not over. It's not complete. It is just a get started, that you got to know that the technology works, and it is very simple, and you can apply it in various different cases, and even in a couple of hours you can extract useful information from the data. So now if you can properly follow the curriculum available on one-to-one, and there are various other internet resources available, like Kaggle is a very nice resource for machine learning. Apart from that, Kaggle, there is machine learning mastery website is there, analytics Vidya website is there, as well as one good platform, I'm just forgetting the name, Image Search is there, which you all can use. So they actually contain the practical content of everything. And there is this blog site which is Medium actually has a lot of machine learning blogs available, where you can actually refer to nice articles and various use cases of the technology. And there are a couple of tools like Dataiku, Pentaho. So you can make use of those tools also. Every tool has specific number of inbuilt projects in it, which can actually help you understand the insights, and that can be like very helpful for all the participants in order to gain better insight of what the technology is and how you can utilize it for your own good. So thank you everyone. Thank you for being available for the 8 days. I hope all of you have taken the evaluation tests. We have opened the evaluation tests again. So those of you who have not got the certificates from Hackweather can re-attempt the test if you have scored less marks. The passing percentage is 33%. You can re-attempt the test. Once you get the tests cleared, we are going to release the certificates every morning at approximately before 12 p.m. We release the certificates for the last 24 hours, so you all can attempt your test and get the certificates from Hackweather. Thank you so much.